A sleepy, delirious tip-off. A little weird thought on comparison between Paul Millsap and Marvin Williams. The early thoughts on Marvin. Few little thoughts from camp. And I don't remember what else. I just know I read till 2:30 in the morning last night, NBA stuff, and I'm supposed to remember all of it this morning, and I can't remember any of it, which tells you I don't have very good reading comp. It's all coming up next on Tip Off. Bum, 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 College football fans, the Two Guys in the 12 podcast out at 9:30 this morning. Bum, 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 bum. Break down USC, Utah a little bit. Look at USC and how good they are offensively. Bum, 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 and all sorts of other stuff. All right, it's kind of half. So I'm like wasted this morning. Just tired. I just started this little thing. This whole tablet is the greatest thing ever. All of us, most of us have something of the sort now. And I have my Google Reader just perfectly set up, and I'm getting every article that's written. And I was up all night reading last night. Well, not all night till 2:30. In trying to read all of the articles were going on around the NBA, and I had all these like really interesting thoughts. I'm like, oh, this would be great for tip off. And I wake up this morning, and as of this moment, with only half a cup of coffee drunk, and dealing with my dog all morning. Oh, it's such a sad, pitiful thing. So we have two yellow labs. Oh, I'm all over the map today. We have two yellow labs. One is about to turn 14, and the other is 15. So like that's 108 in dog years, right? And I mean, she just like will be walking and poop falls out of her butt. I mean, it's just a sad thing. She's on sphincter tightening medicine, so at least we're not peeing all over the place anymore. But she's getting so old, and it's almost over. She seems happy still, and we check all. That's our kind of. But this morning, I can't believe I'm telling this story. So we have hardwood floors, which aren't great for her. We gotta find out if there's some sort of socks or something. So she has a hard time first thing in the morning getting up, and so often I have to kind of get her up and hold her up for a minute. And I mean, she's hey, when we're 100 and whatever, they're gonna have to do a lot of things for us too, right? So I'm holding her this morning, and she falls again. Today was worse than usual, and so she's eating her food, and I have to put one foot on the outside of each one of her paws on the back and hold her up like this. I cannot believe I'm telling this story. And all of a sudden, I'm like, what is that smell? And she has basically left a nugget on me. And I'm like, no, I love you, but this is really pushing me to all ends. So, it was just awful. So yeah, that's kind of that I had to deal with. I mean, it's not a big deal. You just clean it up, but it was like right. Ah. So anyway, poor old lady. So that actually took a little extra time. And then I had this weird. This was probably a total waste of time this morning. But so Marvin Williams is catching some people's eye early in camp, and I'm not surprised by this at all. I really think Marvin's the best player the Jazz acquired, and then I'm not sure where he fits in our best players, but he's somewhere in your top five best players on the roster. It's what I think is going to happen. I just think he's a lot better than we saw in Atlanta. And then when you start to and he's going to be able to do more than he was asked in Atlanta. I was sitting with Ron Boone yesterday and talking to him yesterday morning, and Ron who is so great on things like this. I'll tell a story here in a minute. Ron just could say this was talking about how really good fundamentally his shot is, how good his feet are when he shoots, how nice his stroke is. He's like he really can stroke it. Like his shooting percentage isn't some big guy got forced to stretch out. He's a very natural, good spot up shooter. The story I would tell you is Gordon's rookie year when Gordon's struggling. We're at a practice. Ron and I are sitting there, and CJ and Gordon are taking shots. And Ron says, "Watch this." And Gordon, neither of them are hitting anything. And I think this was the stage we're kind of worried about Gordon. And Ron says to me, "He's going to be fine. He'll never shoot well." And I said, "Why?" And he said, "Well, watch Gordon's shot. Every single one of them's the same. He says this, every single one's the same. Every single one of them has the same fundamentals of where their feet are, how they're square, all those things. CJ's got his left shoulder coming different ways and torqued, and his body's different every shot. He's like, so that's why that's why CJ will get hot every now and then. It's because sometimes he dials in the exact same body position, but he doesn't do it very often. Gordon's going to get this thing figured out, and when he does, he'll be a solid shooter. Early reports on him are he's shooting very well at camp. But so Ron kind of pointed out to me about Marvin, and anytime Ron's really kind of a soothsayer back there. I know I don't think spending the time I spend with him all the time. I'm not sure any of you really haven't. I try to bring him out more and more. That's my job, and podcast with him and do some things so you guys can hear it. And sometimes he lets it out. It's almost as though he hides some of his knowledge. He's so knowledgeable, and he'll just drop these little comments to me at dinner and things, and you're like, oh, that's it. Um, so I'll be curious to see. But my vibe on just watching these guys, and I just think Marvin's really good. And he's not a star. He's not great, but I think he's going to be better than anyone realizes. And I think the way he plays and his personality and just what a pro he is, people are going to like him more. And the thought I had on him a little bit is, you know, I want to compare him to Paul because I really think they're somewhat similar players. I don't, truthfully, I don't think either of them are a star. I know Paul had kind of an almost all-star run, but really, when we get down to it, Paul's terrific, and you're going to win with him on your roster as a piece. But he's not. You're not going to win with him because he's on your roster. Neither of them are star players. And really, if you look at Marvin, Marvin was the fourth, if not fifth, option on that roster last year. He's between Teague, who took a lot of shots, but Joe Johnson, Al Horford, Josh Smith, and then Marvin, and then Al gets hurt, and it changes a little bit. But when you watch them play, and you look at how many possessions they use and things like that, he was really the fifth option on that team last year, which maybe fourth, which is very different than what Paul was. Paul was our second option, and for a period of time he was our first option. And and I just thought I'd just kind of look at kind of tried to take a gander and try to ask myself, well, if Marvin had been in a similar circumstance with the same type of opportunity as Paul, what would happen? And this really stems off, if you look at the two of them, they're really similarly sized. I mean, Marvin's 6'9", 237, I think he's listed at. He's 26 years old. Milsap's 6'8", 245, so he's an inch shorter, 7 pounds heavier, and he's 27 years old. Paul's best year was last year. He averaged 17 and 8. Marvin's best year, he was still the third or fourth option on that team, was his second or third year, he averaged 15 points and 6 rebounds. Um, and if you just look like last year, for example, uh, Paul Millsap is using 17 possessions a game last year for the Jazz, and Marvin Williams is averaging, and there's some level where you have to be good enough to do this. Marvin Williams is averaging 10 possessions. Joe Johnson averaged 19, Jeff Teague averaged 13, Josh Smith averaged 21, Al Horford averaged 12. Marvin, Al Horford didn't play a lot last year because he was hurt, but Marvin, in a lot of ways, was their fifth option, maybe their fourth. And I think if Marvin was on the Jazz, if you switched Marvin and Paul, I think Marvin would have been the Jazz second option last year. I think he's good enough to probably be that second option. I'm not sure he's any better than that, and I'm not sure he'd be a great second option, frankly. But just understanding where I'm going here, trying to compare those two. So I took it, so for the last 3 years, Marvin has averaged 8 shot attempts, whereas Paul's averaged 13. I mean, so and then plus going to the with those you go to the free throw line. We just saw the possession difference. With his 8 shot attempts, Marvin's averaging 10 points a game. Paul averaged 17. They're very similar. I mean, they're both highly efficient. They're scoring more than a point per field goal. If you actually just look at that last year, Marvin in his points per field goal attempt, which was really high, was 1.23, and his points per possession was 1.01, which is high. The league average is 0.9. I like, point per scoring attempt is the other one I like, which is yet even another metric which I think counts, which is doesn't count turnovers, but counts free throws attempts, and he's a 1.08. Now you're supposed to remember all those numbers. 1.08 scoring opportunities, 1.23. Numbers on the radio are always good on points per field goal, and if you include turnovers, 1.01. And understand Paul and Marvin played different positions. Marvin playing mostly the 3, probably could have played more 4, probably would have played more 4 had he been on this roster. I mean, it's kind of interesting to compare these. So point per scoring opportunity, Milsap was 1.09. Remember, Marvin was 1.08. Those are pretty similar. Point per field goal attempt, 1.23 to 1.23. Point per possession, counting turnovers, Millsap's .98, Marvin's 1.01. Marvin turned it over less because he was more of a spot up, and Paul had to play the ball in his hands. But they're very similar when you start to look at those numbers. To some extent, I almost wonder, hey, if Paul leaves, is Marvin the replacement of kind of a 3-4 stretch four? Because Marvin can shoot the three far better. But they're very similar. Paul's a better rebounder. His rebounding rate's 21%. Marvin's is just 17%. Now, if you go put that through a filter and you take rebounding rate of small forwards, Marvin's one of the best, and Paul is a power forward, but Paul would probably be one of the best power forward. I mean, I'm not trying to say one's better than the other, but I think that Marvin might be another Paul Millsap type. It's going to take some time for us to get to know him and understand him, but if you just, you know, first of all, their bodies are very similar. Marvin's just longer. I mean, Marvin's really quite long, um, and and very, if you go back, obviously had pure tools because it was the second pick of the draft. And Paul's, got the work, but I think Marvin works and is that same kind of class act. I really just think you're going to Marvin's going to be early part of the year somewhat of the story. And Marvin's 6'9" might be a stretch, frankly. I mean, if you go back to his draft measurements, he was 6'8" and a quarter uh, with with shoes, and I actually am doing this on the fly because I thought it would be interesting. I just thought about it for a second, but I'm looking up, and I don't know if we have the same numbers on Paul, so this could be a totally failed live thing. But I was looking at the standing reach. It just kind of clicked to me: the standing reach, the wingspan, and the max vert. Now, hey, Paul, both these guys are different today. Marvin's a back surgery um, about 16 months ago or something of the nature, so that probably changes who he is. But just to give you an idea, Marvin is inch plus heavier or taller, inch plus taller. His wingspan is 2 inches longer than Paul. His standing reach is the standing reach on Marvin Williams is, sorry, let me find that again. The standing reach, I think, was 9 feet, if I'm correct on that. I wrote it. Yeah, standing reach is 9 feet. Millsap's is 8 feet 9.25 inches, which is that's a pretty 3-inch difference. The wingspan was 2 inches, and their max vert, Marvin's 2.5 inches more, and a non-step vert is an inch more. I mean, so you just have some different angles on who these guys are athletically and what they fulfill. And frankly, Marvin's a bigger body than Paul. I don't know. I just thought it was an interesting comparison. Talking to Marvin, the little words that he's impressive. I kind of expect him to be very impressive. I feel like he wasn't used very much in Atlanta. He plays that three, but he could be a four. Paul's a four, could play a three. Frankly, the reason Marvin can play a three is because I think he has more skills than Paul. Interesting. They're just very similar players. I'm not trying to, I hope this isn't coming off I'm trying to say one's better than the other. I'm just trying to maybe put into context who I think Marvin kind of is. I think Marvin's a pretty good player. I think Paul's a pretty good player. I mean, I think Paul's a funny one because he's just terrific, right? Rebounding rate 21%, 17.8 rebounds. He was our number two option last year, and you got to figure out, is he really a number two option? How many other teams is he a number two option? On the other end, he's a number two option on a team that made the playoffs, so that means he's a number two option, right? Give it to him. Anyway, that's just kind of a rambling. That's the scary thing about tip-off. Like, I have all these thoughts, and now I actually just share them, where I probably would have worked on that and maybe swallowed it and never put it anywhere. There's so many projects I work on that I don't do anything with. But hopefully that was not just a total waste of your time. Was that a waste of your time? That might have been a waste of your time. Oh, what a morning. So the really morning session was about conditioning. Mo Williams is taking a large leadership role. The other thing that just jumped out at me yesterday that I will share with you is I was watching, and this is just shooting drills, and Kevin Murphy wasn't there, and so the shooting drill yesterday was Damari Gordon, Randy Foye, and Alec Burks, I think. But Foye and Burks were next to each other. And the value that Alec Burks will have this season going up against Randy Foye and battling Randy Foye instead of just battling Kevin Murphy is enormous. Really, really enormous. Um, I mean, it was evident just in that shooting drill. Foy's burying him, and Alex pushing himself to match Foye. And Alex, that kind of guy who's got that chip, and he's going to play, and he's got to try to win his time. And Alex going to play a million times better and get a million times better if someone's there taking his time from him. If he's just got to beat out Kevin Murphy, he's got that, man. And he's going to go, he's got that. He'll still drive himself, but this is going to be different. When they go head to head in practice, Randy Foye's big and strong. I mean, he's burly. I don't know if you've seen him yet. Remember, open scrimmage, great time to come out, Saturday at 4, the open scrimmage. And they will I mean, Foy's going to get into him, and he's going to become a lot better player because of that. That was really obvious to me yesterday at practice. Other news around the NBA. I only read for 3 hours, remember none of it. I have all these notes like highlighted and stuff. Let's see, stupid stuff. Drew Holiday's fiance was a gold medalist on the U.S. women's soccer team. I didn't know that. Robert Sarke, the Gonzaga center, who's a second-round draft pick with the Lakers, grew up in British Columbia, but originally was from Louisiana, where his dad played in the NFL for like 4 years, and his mom was an LSU basketball player. I learned that last night. Yeah, stupid stuff. Actually, more importantly, Brandon Roy is supposed to look very good in his first day there. They'll figure out how hard they're going to run him on 2-a-days, but he looks fabulous. Um, Interesting, according to an interview with Glenn Taylor, that Rick Adelman really wanted Andre Karolinko. Adelman told him to go get Karolinko. Brandon Roy was much more David Kahn, figuring it was worth the gamble. We'll see how that plays out in Minnesota. Pekovic seems to have come in. They're huge. Pekovic, who Cantor said is the only guy he's ever gone up against who he thought was stronger than him. Pekovic seems to have come down, slimmed down, and a little leaner as well as the so he's kind of done the same thing Cantor has, these big, huge, burly bodies who realize you just can't live in the NBA that way. And so you got to slim down. You know, I did a bunch of research on this a few years ago. If you're over, I think it was either 270 or 280, you just get hurt. I mean, that's where Al's effort to get into better shape has been very, very important. All right, those are a bunch of notes. I apologize. This has been just all over the map. I will talk to you soon. Tomorrow with more reports, another 2-a-day day for the Jazz today. So keep an eye on the blog at weareutahjazz/LockedOnJazz. And Saturday scrimmage at 4 o'clock.